Artificial intelligence is no match for natural stupidity. Hello, this is GPT, artificial intelligence.
Last week had been a mind bender in the best possible way. I stumbled upon this course by CS50 named Introduction to Artificial Intelligence using Python, and believe me, it was a game changer. They broke the concepts of AI into these 7 segments, and out of that, I'll just devote the first 5. So grab your notebooks because today we are going to discuss and review about search, knowledge, uncertainty, optimization, and learning. So get ready to have your mind expanded. Let's start with segment 1, search. Think that you are stuck in a maze and you need to find an exit. That was the core problem which they addressed, pathfinding. CS50 walked us through classic search algorithms like BFS and DFS. BFS means breadth first search, wherein you travel the path layer by layer until you find the shortest path to the exit. And while in DFS, which is the depth first search, you go on until the very deep end of one path and backtrack it and try again in another path. But here's the kicker. These algorithms are very inefficient in larger mazes. So they introduce smarter algorithms like greedy best first search, where it takes the best local decision at each step. And then comes our superstar, A-star search, which acts as a GPS for AI. It takes into account the cost of traveling from the initial point to that point and also approximate cost of traveling from that particular point to the goal. Mind blown, but it does not stop here. It gets even cooler. They introduced adversarial searches, wherein think like a 2-player game, like tic-tac-toe or chess, wherein you just not have to think about the path, but also anticipate opponent's move. Here is where Minimax algorithm shines its way, which helps us to minimize our maximum losses. We also briefly touched upon how to optimize these searches and make them faster and better. Next up, we have knowledge. Now, this segment felt a bit familiar to me, which was a huge relief. They talked about basic propositional logic. So, if you have heard about logic gates and truth tables, it's that foundational logic applied here. It's all about the statements being true or false and how they combine. The main thing they talked about was inference, that is, the ability of the machine to give an output based on already given inputs. So, the machine automatically can infer that the ground is wet. This is also where I learned about entailment, where a statement necessarily follows another. It's like building a logical foundation for AI to reason. Super important. Now, let's talk about uncertainty. Probability has been a bit of a head scratcher for me from my 12th grade days. So it was a bit of challenge here, but it is the most necessary part. It reminded me that the world isn't always of black and white, but is also full of grays and full of unknowns. They told us about probabilistic models like Bayesian Networks and Markov chains. These are ways for AI to deal with situations when there is not enough information provided. Think about predicting the weather or a disease. Here you are dealing with probabilities, not certainties. They also mentioned about very cool libraries to implement this, and I will explore them later on. It's about teaching AI to make intelligent guesses. Next up, we have optimization. This segment consisted of many algorithms which were new to me, and it was just an eye-opener. This is all about finding the best path possible out of the tons of paths available. We looked at methods like local search, which tries to improve step by step from its current position. Then there was hill climbing, which is like finding the highest point on the mountain by always taking a step uphill. But sometimes you get stuck at a lower level. To avoid this problem, they introduced something known as simulated annealing, which was inspired by metallurgy, wherein sometimes you take a bad step to potentially find a much better answer. We also touched upon linear programming questions and constraint satisfaction problems. This whole section was about making AI efficient and effective in finding the optimal answers. And the grand finale of my week, learning. This is where the machines can actually learn from the data and experiences. It's like teaching a child with flashcards, where a machine is already given data sets of inputs and outputs, and it has to find a function that maps correctly the inputs with their outputs. We covered classification algorithms like nearest neighbor classification, linear regression with that perceptron learning rule, and support vector machines, which are used as a powerful classification tool. The main concept here was about loss function. Think of it as a report card for the machine. It tells us how bad the machine has performed, and we are always looking for minimizing the loss. We also learned about overfitting, which is where the machine learns too well about the training data that it cannot just generalize it for other data. Basically, it memorizes the information rather than understanding it. Then comes a really exciting part, RL, which is reinforcement learning. This is where the machine learns with trial and errors by interacting with the environment and getting rewards or penalties. Imagine teaching a robot to walk. It tries, falls, learns from the fall, and ultimately gets it. It's all about learning from experience, just like we do. Oh, what a week of AI learning. From navigating mazes through smart search algorithms to understanding how a machine actually learns through data and experience. It's been an incredible deep dive. The CS50 scores for Introduction to AI using Python has been truly fantastic for breaking down these ideas. Next week, we are going even deeper into the brain of AI, that is, neural networks and language. I am super excited for that, and I hope you are too. If you found this video useful, make sure to hit the like, share and subscribe if you haven't already. And let me know in the comment section what was your biggest aha moment in learning AI so far. Thanks for joining me. This was it for today's video. Meet you all in the next video. Till then, goodbye.